chills down everybody's spine, especially Mackenzie's.
All she ever wanted in this whole wide world.
While I rehearse Maddie's solo, I'm gonna have Mackenzie wait on me hand and foot. She's gonna get into the character.
I will explain the gossip. Never miss this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Season 4 saw the Maddie train in full speed, and Abby was the conductor, engineer, and head cheerleader all at once. Every week, Maddie had a featured role, solo, duet, group lead, you name it. She could cry in rehearsal and Abby would still call her a star. But was Maddie truly thriving? Or was she being overworked and micromanaged to the edge of burnout? Even fans noticed the shift. Gone were the childlike smiles. In came the precision, pressure, and perfectionism. Abby needed Maddie to win, if only to justify her brutal methods. It wasn't just favoritism anymore. It was a full-blown Maddie agenda, and the rest of the team felt it. Kendall broke down in tears after yet another solo comparison. Chloe couldn't get a break. No matter how hard she danced, it wasn't Maddie enough. And don't even get us started on the moms. Melissa's smug smile became the symbol of Season 4 mom drama. While other mothers fumed, Melissa doubled down. My daughter gets opportunities because she works hard. But let's be real, the optics were brutal. Maddie got private lessons, special choreo, and endless praise, while the rest got shouted at for blinking wrong. The real tipping point came when Melissa started gatekeeping opportunities, from music videos to meet and greets. The final straw? When Maddie landed a duet with the mini Maddie clone, Kalani, and Melissa made sure no one else had a shot. Christi called it out. Holly rolled her eyes. Jill fumed. But Melissa? Completely unbothered. Kalani Hilliker's arrival was like a grenade thrown into an already unstable team dynamic. Elegant, composed, and already polished from ALDC, she walked in and immediately got a solo. Abby was giddy. This is what a dancer looks like. Cue the collective mom rage. Kendall, who had been clawing her way back into Abby's good graces, was suddenly second best again. Nia, ever the underdog, barely got a chance to perform. And Chloe? Abby barely acknowledged her when Kalani was in the room. But the real drama exploded when Kalani was offered a spot on the team, and her mom, Kira, hesitated. Abby practically begged them to stay, promising fame, stage time, and stardom. The other moms were shook. Since when did Abby ask anyone to join the team? Kalani accepted. The tension instantly quadrupled. Just when things couldn't get more chaotic, Cathy and her candy apples returned. But this time with a shocking twist, a full team of boys. Gino, Nick, and other male dancers strutted into competition like they owned the place. Cathy wasn't just back. She was on a mission to humiliate Abby. And it worked. Between awkward rehearsals, last-minute changes, and Abby's obsession with winning, the ALDC girls were visibly rattled. Cathy's dancers were slick, technically sharp, and let's be honest, had some pretty strong routines. Abby's response? Full meltdown mode. She blamed the moms, the kids, the music, everything but herself. The ALDC versus SADC rivalry went from petty to nuclear, with Cathy throwing shade in interviews and Abby screaming across dressing rooms. One performance even ended with Cathy literally throwing cheese puffs in Abby's direction. Because of course it did. Mid-season, fans started noticing something chilling. Chloe's solos were disappearing. When she did dance, Abby barely acknowledged it. The once celebrated rivalry between Maddie and Chloe had turned into a one-sided freeze-out. Abby didn't want Chloe to shine anymore. One of the most heartbreaking moments came when Chloe delivered a stunning, emotional solo, only to be dismissed coldly in front of the team. Abby barely clapped. Maddie looked sympathetic. Christi? Absolutely fuming. In her interviews, Christi made it clear she'll never treat Chloe the way she treats Maddie, no matter how well Chloe dances. You could feel it. The season was setting the stage for something big and heartbreaking. After years of being sidelined, Nia finally got a solo. And what did Abby give her? A character piece called Lakifa. Yes, seriously. Abby claimed it was fun and theatrical, but fans in Holly were rightly outraged. It felt like a microaggression disguised as a costume. Holly confronted Abby. Why does Nia always get the stereotypical roles? Abby didn't care. She accused Holly of overreacting again. But Nia? She turned that solo out. Character role or not, she committed 1000% and earned herself some much-deserved applause. Even Abby had to admit it. That kid's a fighter. And she was. Season 4 became the beginning of Nia's true solo era. By the second half of Season 4, the moms had it. The favoritism. The exclusion. The yelling. The lies. Christi and Holly led the charge, confronting Abby on everything from unfair choreography to public humiliation. One moment, in particular, went viral, Abby ripping up a costume and throwing it at a mom's face. Yes, that happened. Another, Jill screaming in a parking lot after Kendall was denied a solo because she cried in rehearsal. It was pure chaos, emotional warfare, week after week. But the more the moms fought back, the more aggressive Abby got. Ultimatums were thrown, doors were slammed, and alliances started to crack. By the end of this stretch of episodes, the ALDC was barely holding it together. Chloe was losing faith. Christi was done. Kalani's spot was secure. Maddie was untouchable. And everyone else? Clinging to whatever dance time they could get. Abby was unraveling, the moms were plotting, and the fans were glued to their screens. No one knew who would walk next, or who would finally snap. But one thing was clear. Season 4 wasn't just dance moms, it was war. Just when the original ALDC team was starting to feel somewhat stable, Abby dropped the bomb. She was bringing in an entirely new select team of hand-picked dancers to compete against the OGs. And not just for fun. She wanted them to replace the originals. The moms were in shock. Christi's jaw dropped. Jill was ready to blow. Holly immediately called it a manipulation tactic, and she wasn't wrong. Abby was pitting children against each other again, to assert control and prove she didn't need the originals. But the real kicker? Some of the select team dancers were incredible. Yikes. Cue the paranoia. Every mom suddenly worried their kid was next on the chopping block. Even Melissa had to admit, this changes everything. While the drama between the teams heated up, little Mackenzie was getting a full pop star makeover. Abby launched her music career under the name Maxie, complete with a music video, new branding, and performances during competitions. The girls were confused. The moms were furious. Holly questioned why Nia had never gotten similar opportunities. Christi said what everyone was thinking. This is Melissa 2.0. She'll step over anyone to make sure her kid's a star. And Melissa? Unapologetic as ever. It didn't help that Abby micromanaged the whole project. She rewrote lyrics, picked the wardrobe, and even had Mackenzie lip-sync live to avoid sounding like a child. This wasn't a fun hobby. It was another extension of Abby's empire. Maxie got millions of views, but it cost the team even more trust. It didn't take long for Kira, Kalani's mom, to get caught in the Melissa machine. At first, they were fast friends. Both had daughters in Abby's good graces. Both stayed quiet during fights. But when Kalani started outshining Maddie in duets and group routines, Melissa's claws came out. A subtle eye roll here, a snide remark there, until Kira finally snapped. In one of the most underrated mom blow-ups of Season 4, Kira screamed, "You act like you're everyone's friend, but you're the most fake person here." Melissa froze, but she didn't deny it. Their feud simmered under the surface for the rest of the season, with Melissa quietly plotting and Kira getting bolder by the week. What's a season of Dance Moms without some good old-fashioned solo sabotage? Abby had a nasty habit in Season 4 of setting her dancers up to fail. One week, Kendall got a last-minute solo with choreography she barely had time to rehearse. The music was rushed, the costume didn't fit, and surprise, Abby blamed her for not winning. Then came Nia's sabotage, when Abby gave her a solo in a style she never trained in and refused to give corrections during rehearsal. Holly called it out. She wants Nia to fall on her face. Even Chloe wasn't safe. In one episode, she was given a solo with emotionally intense choreography, only to be screamed at for having no emotion. Christi lost it. You won't let her win, Abby. Ever. So just say it. And Abby didn't deny that either. Abby's group routines in Season 4 were controversial. Sure, they won trophies, but some of them crossed serious lines. Let's talk about Amber Alert. Yes, Abby choreographed a dance about a child being kidnapped and cast Maddie as the victim. The moms were horrified. Holly begged her to reconsider. Christi looked like she might walk. But Abby insisted, it's powerful. It's raw. Even when the judges praised it, the audience reaction was mixed. Fans asked, is this awareness or exploitation? Another moment that sparked fury. A group routine about asylums, complete with straitjackets. Abby once again gave Maddie the lead and told the rest of the team to act crazy, without offering any sensitivity or research. Holly nailed it. She uses shock value because she has nothing else left. By late Season 4, Christi was done playing nice. After watching Chloe get passed over for solos, stripped of choreography, and insulted constantly, she flipped the switch. Abby accused Chloe of having a lazy eye. Christi, don't you ever talk about her appearance again. When Abby mocked Chloe's chances of having a dance career, Christi responded with one of the rawest lines of the season. You're a monster. And you know it. At that point, the tension was unbearable. Chloe was emotionally drained. Christi was emotionally destroyed. And the viewers? Already bracing for the inevitable. They were leaving. While all the yelling and betrayal played out around her, Kalani quietly dominated the season. Her solos were elegant, powerful, and clean. Judges loved her. Fans loved her. Abby loved her, obviously. But what made Kalani's rise so dramatic was how quickly she replaced Chloe, both in choreography and attention. One week Chloe had a lyrical solo. The next week, it was Kalani. Abby made it clear. Kalani is the dancer I wish I had all along. Ouch. Kira knew this dynamic could go south at any moment, but she played the game carefully. She stayed calm, kept Kalani focused, and avoided the petty drama. It was a strategic win, but it put a huge target on Kalani's back with the other moms. At this point in Season 4, Nia had been pushed to the sidelines for months. Every week, Abby made it clear Nia wasn't her type of dancer. While Maddie and Kalani were getting back-to-back solos and prime spots in group routines, Nia was either in the background or getting deliberately set up to fail. The breaking point? Abby told the select team moms that Nia had problems learning choreography. Holly found out, and that's when everything exploded. Holly was furious. Not just because it was a lie, and it was, but because Abby said it behind her back to other mothers in front of cameras. You will not sabotage my child's reputation to boost these new girls. That was Holly's vibe. And honestly, she was done holding back. Holly didn't scream. She didn't storm out. She looked Abby dead in the eye, in front of everyone, and said, "You are not going to assassinate my daughter's character." Mic drop. Abby tried to backtrack, saying she was just being honest about Nia's limitations. But Holly wasn't having it. She stood her ground, in the studio, in front of the moms, and during her interview confessional. What Abby is doing is calculated. She's trying to eliminate the original girls and make room for the new team. And she's starting with Nia. Yes, she said it. And she was 100% right. What made this blow-up even more explosive was Abby's blatant favoritism. Every time Maddie or Kalani stumbled, Abby brushed it off with excuses. They're tired. It was the music. She still danced better than everyone else. But Nia? One off count and Abby was publicly shaming her, calling her sloppy, lazy, and not capable. The select team mom soaked it up, and Abby loved it. When Holly confronted Abby on this bias, Abby dared to say, "I only give solos to the girls who can win." The room went silent. Even Melissa looked uncomfortable. Holly didn't flinch. Nia is not here to win you trophies. She's here to grow as a dancer. And you're failing her. This moment hit hard, not just for the team, but for the audience. Fans had been watching Nia get mistreated for years, and finally, Holly snapped in the most righteous way possible. Behind the scenes, the timing was suspicious. Holly's confrontation came right after Abby had elevated the select team, and it felt like Abby wanted to push out the weaker links. First Chloe, then Nia. She knew Christi and Holly were tight. She knew they were outspoken. And she knew that if she could get rid of their kids, she could silence their moms. The select team was Abby's insurance policy. If the OGs walked, she had a backup crew ready to go. But Holly? She wasn't going down without a fight. What made Holly's blow-up even more emotional was that the other moms said nothing. Melissa, who once acted like Holly's friend. Quiet. Jill, who should have related because Kendall had also been mistreated, said nothing. Kira, who was the new girl and benefiting from Abby's bias toward Kalani, kept her mouth shut. It was a total betrayal. And Holly called it out in her confessional. They're all scared. They know what Abby's doing is wrong, but as long as their daughters are getting ahead, they'll play along. That quote hit harder than half the dances that season. The most heartbreaking part? Nia was in the room. She saw her mom fighting for her. She saw Abby rolling her eyes. She saw the other girls looking uncomfortable. And she saw how alone she really was on that team. Later, Nia admitted how hard it was to feel like she had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Sometimes, I wonder if Abby even sees me. That line crushed fans. And it made Holly's blow-up one of the most talked-about moments of the season. After the blow-up, it was clear Holly didn't trust Abby. She didn't trust the moms. She didn't believe Nia had a future at the ALDC. But she stayed for a little while to let Nia finish out what she started. And when she finally did walk away, it was on her own terms. But first, she had one more mission: expose Abby's hypocrisy. And that's where we get into Holly versus Abby round 2, including Nia's independent music video, Abby freaking out, and the moms finally turning on Melissa. From the very first season of Dance Moms, Chloe Lacasiak and Maddie Ziegler were set up as opposites. Maddie, Abby Lee Miller's golden girl, and Chloe, the quiet underdog with lyrical magic in her bones. Every competition, every pyramid, every critique, it was a silent war, orchestrated by Abby herself. But behind the rivalry was something softer: mutual respect, deep understanding, and shared pain. Their final duet was not just a number. It was a farewell. Before we get to the performance, you have to understand the pressure, the build-up, and everything Chloe was up against. Season 4 was Chloe's breaking point. Abby had been relentlessly cruel, from snide remarks about her eye to sabotaging her chances on stage. The favoritism had never been more glaring. But despite it all, Chloe kept dancing, and in this moment, she'd be dancing with Maddie one last time. When Abby announced that Chloe and Maddie would perform a duet together, jaws dropped. This was rare. These two had been pitted against each other for years. To see them share the stage again? It was like a peace offering, a swan song, a twist no one saw coming. Abby titled the piece Chasing Answers. It was a lyrical duet full of longing, pain, and emotional tension. Basically, a mirror to the girls' real-life journey. While the choreography was stunning, fans couldn't help but wonder, was this duet Abby's attempt at redemption, or just another opportunity to favor Maddie in the end? Rehearsals were tense. Chloe, ever the professional, gave it her all, but you could tell something was different. She was emotionally drained. Maddie, on the other hand, looked caught between loyalty and guilt. In a rare confessional, Maddie even said, "Chloe and I used to be so close. I miss that." Meanwhile, Christi was on edge. She knew Abby's patterns. She suspected this duet was meant to make Chloe look weak, just another power play. But Chloe wanted to dance it anyway. She knew this was the end. And she wanted her final performance with Maddie to mean something. When the lights came up, the entire room fell silent. Chloe and Maddie stood opposite each other, mirrors in motion. The choreography was full of push and pull, tension and tenderness. It wasn't just a dance. It was a story of friendship, jealousy, loss, and acceptance. Maddie's turns were technically flawless. Chloe's emotion bled through every movement. Together, they created magic, the kind you only see once in a lifetime. Fans watching live had tears in their eyes. One moment stood out, the ending pose. Chloe reached out to Maddie, who slowly stepped back, fading into the distance. It felt symbolic, like Chloe was saying goodbye, and Maddie was being pulled further into Abby's world. The judges gave them high praise. But in typical Dance Moms fashion, Abby had to ruin the moment. Backstage, everyone expected praise. But Abby? She twisted the knife. Maddie, your performance was mature, breathtaking. Chloe, you were fine. But not up to Maddie's level. Christi was livid. Chloe, clearly hurt, stayed silent. Maddie looked uncomfortable. Even she didn't agree with Abby's comments. It was another reminder that no matter how hard Chloe tried, Abby would never see her as worthy. What Abby didn't realize. That duet cemented Chloe's legacy. Fans were done with the favoritism. Social media blew up with praise for Chloe, calling her the true star of the performance. Shortly after the duet, Chloe made the decision to leave the ALDC for good. It wasn't just about Abby. It was about finding her voice again, dancing without fear. Her departure was quiet, but powerful. And that duet with Maddie? It was the perfect send-off. A final reminder that Chloe had always been a star, even when Abby refused to see it. In a later interview, Chloe said, "Dancing with Maddie again was special. I think we both knew it would be our last time. And I'm proud of what we created together." Fans still talk about chasing answers. It's been called one of the most emotional performances in Dance Mom's history, not just because of the technique, but because of the truth behind it. The pain. The unspoken goodbye. For Chloe, it was closure. For Maddie, it was a rare moment of connection with someone who understood her reality. And for viewers, it was a reminder that beyond all the drama, these girls were artists, pushed too hard, but still capable of creating beauty. After leaving the ALDC, Chloe's dance journey took on a new life. She studied at different studios, explored acting, and focused on healing. She was no longer Abby's second best. She was just Chloe, powerful, graceful, and free. And that final duet with Maddie? It wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something better. A life beyond Abby Lee Miller. A life where she could dance for herself. Chloe and Maddie's final duet wasn't just a dance. It was a conversation. A goodbye. A reckoning. It exposed the emotional cost of Abby's manipulation. It highlighted Chloe's strength and Maddie's quiet guilt. And it gave fans the closure they didn't know they needed. In the end, it wasn't about winning. It was about reclaiming the story. And in that moment, Chloe told hers, beautifully. When the drama turns legal, Dance Moms was always known for chaos. But nothing prepared fans for the moment when Abby Lee Miller herself was served legal papers on camera. Season 5, Episode 2, titled Abby Got Served, took the already combustible ALDC universe and ignited it with real-world consequences. It wasn't just a feud anymore. This was a full-blown legal battle. While viewers were used to hair-pulling arguments and pyramid meltdowns, this moment changed the game. The tears were real. The stakes were higher. And the lawsuit? It wasn't just about Abby's behavior. It was about everything she represented: control, manipulation, and years of emotional warfare. It started off like any other episode: rehearsal chaos, parents bickering in the viewing room, and Abby barking choreography orders. But then a knock at the door. Two strangers entered the studio holding legal papers. Abby, ever the control freak, immediately demanded to know who they were. When she realized what was happening, she froze. "You've been served." Just like that, the lawsuit was public. And every dancer, mom, and viewer at home watched the Queen of Control lose her grip. The camera captured her stunned silence. For once, Abby wasn't yelling. She wasn't even defending herself. She was speechless. The lawsuit came from none other than Kelly Highland, former ALDC mom and mother to Brooke and Paige. If you've been following the show, you know how explosive Abby and Kelly's relationship had been for years. It all came to a head in Season 4, when an argument between them turned physical. The infamous slap, the screaming match, and the way Abby pressed charges, it all came back to haunt her. But this time Kelly was taking action. Kelly sued Abby for emotional distress, a breach of contract, assault and battery in connection with their on-screen fight. It wasn't just a headline. It was a takedown. Abby, who had always felt untouchable, was finally being held accountable and on her own show. The moms were shook. As soon as the servers left, the viewing room exploded. Jill gasped. Holly looked stunned. Kalani's mom whispered, "Is this really happening right now?" Even the dancers were confused. Nia asked her mom what was going on. Maddie looked nervous. The studio had always been high pressure, but this was something else. There were lawyers involved now. The girls weren't just performers, they were witnesses. Backstage, Abby refused to explain anything. She slammed doors, avoided eye contact, and threw herself deeper into rehearsals as a distraction. But the energy was off. You could feel the tension clinging to the walls. Christi wasn't even there, but fans could imagine exactly what she'd say. Karma. Instead of acknowledging the gravity of the lawsuit, Abby acted like nothing happened. Classic Abby. She tried to brush it off, telling producers she didn't have time for nonsense. I don't care who sues me. I've got a competition to win. But her actions said otherwise. She became even more erratic in rehearsals, lashing out at dancers and moms with increasing intensity. Every critique felt more personal. Every correction had a bite. The lawsuit had pierced her armor, and she was scrambling to maintain control. While Abby was trying to pretend the lawsuit was irrelevant, Kelly Highland was not staying quiet. In interviews, she accused Abby of years of emotional manipulation and psychological abuse. She spoke out about the toxic environment her daughters endured at the ALDC. Fans rallied behind her, especially those who had long suspected Abby's behavior went too far. The internet exploded. #Team Kelly began trending. Memes flooded Instagram. Fan pages dug up old footage to build a timeline of Abby's mistreatment. The show had created a villain in Abby, but now the villain had real-world consequences. This wasn't just drama for ratings. It was justice. The lawsuit split the ALDC moms like never before. Holly was deeply uncomfortable. She didn't defend Abby, but she also worried about what it meant for the kids. Jill tried to stay neutral, but her loyalty to Abby showed. Akira called the situation a mess, but reminded everyone Kalani had trained at other studios and was used to drama. Melissa was Melissa. She deflected, made excuses, and stayed glued to Abby's side. But no one could deny what was happening. The power dynamic was shifting. The moms started wondering, if Kelly could stand up to Abby, who else might? The lawsuit opened the floodgates. Past students and parents began speaking out about their experiences with Abby. Former ALDC dancers posted cryptic messages online. Articles started surfacing. Abby wasn't just being sued by Kelly, she was being investigated by the court of public opinion. Even Maddie's success couldn't shield the studio anymore. Everywhere Abby went, she was asked about the case. At competitions, she tried to act unbothered, but the press was relentless. Abby had always controlled the narrative. Now, she was the subject of it. For the ALDC dancers, the lawsuit wasn't just background noise. It was life-changing. Rehearsals became tenser. Competitions felt heavier. They weren't just dancing, they were performing under a cloud. Chloe, who had already left, became the symbol of escape. Brooke and Paige were gone too, but their story was still being told. The remaining girls, especially Nia and Kendall, started asking questions. Was this really worth it? Was dancing under Abby's rules sustainable? In a later episode, Abby finally cracked. After pushing herself too hard, yelling at producers, and isolating from the moms, she broke down in the studio. Cameras rolled as Abby, the iron-fisted leader of the ALDC, sat alone, crying. I give these kids everything. Everything. And this is what I get. It was a rare moment of vulnerability. But fans were divided. Was it genuine regret? Or just Abby playing the victim after years of abuse? The case didn't go to trial, but it sent a message. Kelly's decision to sue led to a private settlement and sparked conversations about ethics in reality TV. The production team faced scrutiny. Abby's teaching methods were questioned. And for the first time, Dance Moms had to confront its darker side. This wasn't just about screaming moms and glitter. It was about minors being exploited, loyalty being weaponized, and power being abused. The lawsuit might not have ended with a courtroom scene, but it redefined the show. Kelly, Brooke, and Paige faded from the show, but not from fans' hearts. They became symbols of standing up for what's right. Kelly gained a massive fan base, and Brooke and Paige continued dancing on their own terms. Abby? She kept pushing forward, But cracks in her empire were undeniable. Eventually, legal trouble would catch up with her again, this time over financial crimes. But it all started with this moment. The moment she was served. Season 5, Episode 2 remains one of the most iconic episodes in Dance Moms history. It wasn't about the competition. It wasn't about the solos. It was about accountability. It was the moment reality blurred into reality TV. And for fans, it was unforgettable. When Abby got served, it felt like time stopped at the ALDC. Everything changed for the girls, the moms, the viewers, and Abby herself. It wasn't just about one lawsuit. It was about years of pain bubbling to the surface. And while Abby tried to spin it, deny it, and dance through it, the truth had already taken center stage. The ALDC was once a dance dynasty. It had the best talent, the most dedicated moms, and a teacher who, love her or hate her, got results. But as the seasons rolled on, the fractures beneath the glittering surface widened into chasms. Loyalty turned into resentment. Trust gave way to betrayal, and the ALDC that fans once knew began to unravel. It wasn't just one fight or one exit. It was a slow burn, a chain reaction of walkouts, blow-ups, and betrayals that made it clear the Abby Lee Dance Company would never be the same again. When Chloe Lacasiak walked out of the ALDC for good, it was more than just one dancer leaving. It was the loss of the heart and soul of the team. Chloe had always been the quiet, graceful underdog, the antithesis of Abby's favorite, Maddie. Her departure, triggered by Abby's constant belittling and a comment about Chloe's medical condition, sent a message. This environment was toxic. Christi's final words echoed in every fan's mind, "We're done." And with that, the ALDC lost one of its most beloved duos. If Chloe's exit was emotional, Kelly's was explosive. The infamous Season 4 fight between Kelly and Abby, complete with hair-pulling, screaming, and lawsuits, sent shockwaves through the fanbase. Brooke and Paige were pulled from the team, not by choice but by necessity. The team wasn't just losing dancers, they were losing their family. As original members left, Abby began filling the team with fresh faces. Enter Kalani, Jojo, Bryn, and eventually the Minis. Each new dancer brought talent, sure, but they also brought division. The OG moms resented the newcomers. The team chemistry dissolved. The viewing room became a war zone. Abby claimed it was about building a stronger team, but the fans knew it was about control. And every new recruit chipped away at what was left of the original ALDC spirit. Holly Fraser had always been the voice of reason. Educated, composed, and loyal, she stuck it out far longer than most. But eventually, even Holly had enough. Abby's blatant favoritism, the exclusion of Nia, and the growing disrespect reached a boiling point. Holly began speaking out more, pushing back against Abby's tactics and advocating for Nia's career outside the ALDC umbrella. Her famous line, "You don't get to treat people this way," marked a turning point. The studio was no longer unified. Melissa Gisoni, Maddie and Mackenzie's mom, had always been fiercely loyal to Abby. But as other moms turned against the ALDC, Melissa's alliance with Abby became more isolating. Her friendships frayed. Her trustworthiness was questioned. And when Maddie began branching into Sia music videos and outside fame, the tension worsened. Was Melissa protecting her daughters? Or just protecting her status with Abby? Either way, it drove a wedge between her and the rest of the team. Maddie Ziegler was the face of the ALDC, Abby's golden girl, the award winner, the prodigy. But when even Maddie decided to leave, it felt like the final nail in the coffin. Her departure wasn't just emotional, it was symbolic. If she didn't want to be there anymore, who would? Abby claimed she was supportive. The moms weren't convinced. And fans? They saw it as a turning point. The studio had officially lost its star. Abby's decision to bring in the mini team was met with immediate backlash. The OG moms felt their daughters were being replaced. The dynamic shifted overnight. Fights broke out in the viewing room. Tensions escalated in rehearsals. The ALDC wasn't one united team anymore. It was a patchwork of alliances and rivalries. The original mission, training elite dancers in a competitive environment, was gone. Now it was about survival. Behind the scenes, the production team had always stirred the pot. But as the ALDC crumbled, their interference became more obvious. Storylines were exaggerated. Fights were pushed. Friendships were tested. Some moms accused producers of manufacturing division. Others said the pressure cooker environment just revealed everyone's true colors. Either way, the show became less about dance and more about drama. As if the studio tension weren't enough, Abby's real-life legal troubles were mounting. She was investigated, indicted, and eventually sentenced for bankruptcy fraud. Her attention turned away from the team. Rehearsals were canceled. Nationals became an afterthought. Abby was spiraling. And the girls? They were left to pick up the pieces. One by one, the moms left. A Jill walked out with Kendall, citing unfair treatment. A Holly took Nia to pursue her music career independently. A Jesselyn and Jojo left after Abby humiliated Jojo on camera. There was no dramatic final showdown. No climactic team meeting. Just silence, distance, and the slow realization that the ALDC was over. In a few rare interviews, Abby expressed regret. She said she missed the original team. She wished things had been different. But fans weren't buying it. Years of screaming, favoritism, and manipulation couldn't be undone with a soundbite. And while Abby tried to launch a new team, the magic was gone. Chloe danced for Studio 19 and found peace. Maddie became a Hollywood staple. Nia went on tour. Brooke and Paige embraced normalcy. Jojo built an empire. They were no longer just ALDC dancers. They were survivors of a reality TV machine. And their success post-ALDC proved something powerful. They didn't need Abby to shine. Fans had predicted it. From the very first cracks, Chloe's tears, Kelly's rage, Holly's frustration, it was clear that the LDC couldn't last. But watching it disintegrate was still heartbreaking. The bonds, the talent, the memories. The ALDC's legacy is complicated. Yes, it produced incredible dancers. Yes, it was a cultural phenomenon. But it also exposed the cost of perfection, the dangers of fame, and the price of loyalty. Abby Lee Miller created something iconic and destroyed it from the inside. And now, all that remains is the footage. The performances. The pain. The history. When Cathy Nesbitt-Stein waltzed back into competition with her signature Candy Apples Army, she didn't just want to compete. She came to conquer. From her over-the-top entrances to the snide backstage commentary, Cathy's return was nothing short of theatrical. She rolled up with a new crop of dancers, new choreographers, and the same old determination to destroy the ALDC at any cost. And Abby? She clocked her from the moment she entered the venue. "Here comes the Wicked Witch of the Midwest," Abby muttered as Cathy's cackle echoed through the competition hallway. Cathy fired back with her signature smirk. "Jealousy is a disease, Abby. Get well soon." It was game on again. One of Cathy's most strategic moves? Bringing back Gino Coscuyuela. The talented teen dancer returned to the Candy Apples squad with a vengeance and a history. Abby still hadn't forgotten that infamous Maddie-Gino kiss from season 4. And neither had Maddie. The moment Gino appeared at competition, a ripple went through the ALDC dressing room. Maddie turned beet red. Melissa panicked. And Abby? Abby exploded. "You know Cathy's just doing this to get under our skin," she screamed, flinging her clipboard. To make matters worse, Gino's solo slayed. And when he beat one of Abby's top girls, Cathy's smug face in the audience said it all. Revenge had never looked so well choreographed. If Abby thought Jojo was her wild card, Cathy had an ace of her own, Ava Coda. Towering, poised, and ready for revenge after her past ALDC rejection, Ava was the surprise that Abby did not see coming. Cathy flaunted Ava as her elite dancer, complete with a lyrical solo that oozed grace and power. When Ava placed above an ALDC favorite, Abby fumed, and the flashbacks to Ava's humiliating past dismissal played out in full dramatic irony. Cathy had taken Abby's trash and turned it into treasure. "Abby, maybe your trash just needed a better choreographer," Cathy snarked. As the OG moms trickled out one by one, Abby didn't waste a second filling their daughters' spots with new talent, and fans couldn't help but ask, was this strategy or spite? She handpicked girls like Bryn, Missy, Cameron, and the Minis, each more polished and less mouthy than the last. In theory, this was Abby rebranding the ALDC, but in reality, it felt more like revenge. The old moms hated it. Jill called it a slap in the face. Kira mocked the try-hard energy. Holly just shook her head, calling the whole thing a symptom of Abby's insecurity. Meanwhile, Cathy watched from the sidelines, delighted. Every time Abby introduced a new and improved ALDC member, Cathy countered with a seasoned ADC soloist. Cameron entered the ALDC like a stealth missile, no drama, just raw talent. Trained, disciplined, and humble, she immediately stood out. And Cathy noticed. "Who's the new silent assassin?" Cathy quipped as she watched Cameron devour the stage. Abby, uncharacteristically, had nothing negative to say. "She's a technician," Abby admitted. "She's clean, consistent, and she doesn't talk back." But with praise came pressure. Abby began stacking Cameron against Nia, comparing their styles, attitude, and even facial expressions. Holly was not having it. "Don't pit two young black dancers against each other just to stir the pot," she said, loud enough for producers to catch. The tension was undeniable. Still, Cameron delivered, every time. And Cathy knew it. "She belongs on my team," Cathy whispered to a mom. "She's too good for Abby." When Bryn stepped into the spotlight, the comparisons were immediate. Clean lines, quiet demeanor, emotionally mature solos. Melissa may have left the building, but her ghost lingered in every Bryn performance. And of course, Cathy pounced. She loved stoking that fire. "Oh look," she crooned, "Maddie 2.0 is here to bore us into submission." But Abby defended Bryn tooth and nail, something she rarely did for new girls. "She earns her place," Abby barked. "She doesn't need a loudmouth mother to do the talking." Cue Ashley, Bryn's mom, marching into battle. Ashley clashed with every mom on the team. She believed Bryn deserved the top spot and wasn't shy about it. And Cathy? She lived for the drama, filming every meltdown from the audience with a smirk. If imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, Cathy took it to an Olympic level of trolling. She straight up copied one of the ALDC's iconic group costume looks, red fringe, rhinestones, and all, and put it on her team for a direct face-off. Abby nearly combusted. "She stole my design." Abby shrieked. "This is intellectual property theft." Cathy didn't blink. "I just thought it would look better on winners." The girls were mortified. The moms were seething. And the judges? The judges gave the candy apples the win. Abby stormed out of the venue, threatening to call her lawyer. Cathy skipped out whistling. Love her or loathe her, Cathy was a one-woman meme machine. Her commentary wasn't just shady, it was surgical. She knew exactly how to get under Abby's skin, and she never missed an opportunity. Abby's teaching style reminds me of a pressure cooker, loud, unstable, and bound to explode. If losing weight depended on stress, Abby would have been a supermodel by now. You can't polish a trophy when your dancers are busy crying in the dressing room. Every line was designed for the soundbite. Every dig became a gif. And Abby? Abby pretended not to care, but we all knew better. In classic Dance Moms fashion, the build-up to the ultimate face-off between the ALDC and Candy Apples had everything: tears, tantrums, walkouts, last-minute choreography changes, and dramatic mom exits. The competition? A group number battle. Abby crafted a hard-hitting contemporary number filled with tricks, emotion, and intensity. Cathy, meanwhile, choreographed a jazzy, in-your-face routine dripping in sass and satire. Both teams delivered. Both crowds cheered. And the winner? Candy Apples by half a point. Cathy jumped from her seat, screamed in victory, and gave the camera one last mic drop glare. Abby didn't even wait for the awards ceremony. She grabbed her bag and left the building, muttering "rigged" under her breath. If there was one mom who could match Cathy in sheer dramatics, it was Jill Verts. From the hair to the heels to the heavy eyeliner, Jill didn't just attend competitions, she staged them. So when she and Cathy went head-to-head again during Season 4's Dance War, it was bound to be iconic. Jill waltzed into a competition rocking a full leopard print look, jacket, purse, heels. Cathy took one look and muttered, "Jungle called. They want their cheetah back." Jill was fuming. She clapped back with, "I'd rather be fashion-forward than stuck in the 80s with your glitter eyeshadow." They sniped at each other the entire day. And when Kendall beat one of Cathy's dancers, Jill made sure Cathy saw the trophy up close. "Isn't this what you came for?" Jill teased, holding it high. Cathy just scoffed. "One win doesn't make a queen. But enjoy your 15 minutes. With the team fracturing and the candy apples gaining ground, Abby's grip started slipping, and viewers saw it all unravel in real time. Screaming matches got louder. Dress rehearsals became disaster zones. And Abby, once obsessed with perfection, was constantly distracted by rivalries, lawsuits, and walkouts. At one point, she spent more time watching Cathy's team than her own. "Why are you spying on her dancers?" Holly demanded. "You have a team that needs you." But Abby couldn't help herself. Every time Cathy gained traction, Abby spiraled. And when her team didn't deliver flawless wins, she took it out on the girls. The result? Tears. Lots of them. And Cathy loved every second. When Abby debuted the mini-team, Cathy had thoughts. "Oh look, she's starting them young, the trauma, I mean." While the ALDC minis were adorable, they were also inexperienced. Cathy saw them as a gimmick. But Abby doubled down, assigning them solos and group dances, even having them compete against her older girls at times. It was a risky move, one that Cathy pounced on. I don't know what's more disturbing, the choreography or the mascara on those 6-year-olds. Still, the minis were fierce, and Cathy couldn't deny it. When they won a category, she muttered, "I smell judges with a soft spot for toddlers." In a move no one saw coming, Cathy invited Lady Gaga's choreographer, Richie Jackson, to work with her team. The drama? Off the charts. Abby turned green with envy. "That's a joke, right?" Abby snapped. "She's bringing in celebrity choreographers now?" But Cathy wasn't playing games. With Richie's help, the Candy Apples routines went from Midwest local to full-blown music video quality. They incorporated props, lighting, even fog machines. And Abby's response? "We don't need smoke and mirrors. We have technique." But behind closed doors, she was fuming. She scrambled to one-up Cathy at the next comp, and let's just say it didn't go smoothly. When Maddie Ziegler began distancing herself from the team, everyone felt it, including Cathy. She gleefully predicted it on camera. "Oh, she's gone. I can smell it." Abby denied it at first. "Maddie is ALDC royalty," she insisted. But when Maddie started missing rehearsals and working more with Sia, the writing was on the wall. Cathy took full advantage, whispering to judges, "She's too busy being a pop star now." And when Maddie officially left, Cathy cheered. "This is the best thing to happen to everyone," she gloated. "Now maybe the rest of the ALDC can breathe." But it wasn't all smooth sailing for Cathy. Her candy apple moms weren't immune to the dance mom's curse. Drama erupted when one of the moms accused Cathy of favoritism, giving Ava all the best routines while the others were glorified backup. In one iconic backstage moment, a mom screamed, "My daughter didn't train for 12 years to hold a hatbox." Cathy clapped back. Well, maybe if she knew how to turn, she'd get a solo. The fallout was brutal. A dancer left mid-season, and Cathy was forced to rebuild again. Abby, of course, gloated hard. "See? Karma wears red lipstick." No Dance Mom's rivalry is complete without an over-the-top prop. And Cathy took things to a new level when she used a full-size coffin in one of her routines. Abby nearly had a stroke. "She's putting children in coffins now?" Cathy defended the piece as high-concept art, but Abby called it tacky horror show nonsense. Still, the number placed high, and the shock value worked. Not to be outdone, Abby came back the next week with a dance involving dramatic mirrors and simulated rainfall. The girls hated it. The stage crew hated it. Cathy just laughed. Too little, too late. It had been building for seasons. But during one unforgettable comp, Abby and Cathy went from shade to screaming. They crossed paths in the hallway and exchanged pleasantries, until Cathy accused Abby of exploiting her dancers. "You don't care about those girls," Cathy barked. "You care about your brand." Abby lunged. Cathy stepped back. Security intervened. It was chaos. Hair flying, fingers pointing, producers stepping between them. Cathy walked away smirking. Abby was dragged off muttering legal threats. The rivalry had finally gone nuclear. Love her or hate her, Cathy made dance moms unforgettable. She was the villain, the instigator, the comic relief, and the unrelenting underdog. Her team may not have always won, but they always mattered. From viral one-liners to costumes that screamed for attention, Cathy etched her name into reality TV history. And let's face it, every time she reappeared, the fans lived for it. Because in the world of dance moms, no one did petty quite like the candy apples. Chapter 31, Cathy's Return, and she brought fire. When Cathy re-entered the competition circuit after a brief absence, the moms rolled their eyes. But Abby panicked. Cathy didn't just return with old routines. She brought a full-blown production company feel to her numbers. Lighting, props, guest choreographers, backup dancers, and a new theme, revenge. She's trying too hard, Abby muttered. But the tension in her voice betrayed the truth. Cathy wasn't just back, she was gunning for blood, and the candy apples were ready to deliver. While Abby was trying to mold JoJo into the next big thing, Cathy had her own wild card, a sassy, high-kicking firecracker named Jada. Jada had JoJo's spark, but none of Abby's control. And Cathy loved it. She's not a robot, Cathy gloated. She's a performer. At one comp, the two girls danced back-to-back. JoJo did her signature hair flip. Jada cartwheeled into the splits. The crowd lost it. Abby muttered, desperate theatrics. But she knew Cathy had struck gold. Cathy might have been a chaos queen, but even her own moms had limits. During a rehearsal meltdown, one mom stormed out yelling, "I didn't sign up for Broadway rejects and fog machines." Cathy snapped, "Then maybe you shouldn't have signed up at all." The mutiny was swift. Moms formed cliques, dancers cried backstage, and Cathy found herself choreographing for a half-empty team. Her response? Bring in new blood. And she did, with wild consequences. When Cathy entered a hip-hop piece choreographed by an actual street dance pro, Abby went ballistic. "She's turned the stage into a nightclub," she yelled. "This is ballet, not a basement party." But the judges? They loved it. The candy apples won first. Abby blamed the lighting, the costumes, the music, basically everything except her own dancer's routine. The moms just sighed. Classic Abby deflection. Cathy just smiled and held the trophy. In a now infamous post-competition interview, Cathy accused Abby of bribing a judge. "Funny how ALDC always wins when that guy is at the table," she smirked. Abby threatened legal action. Cathy said, "Bring it." The network blurred the judge's face and muted names, but fans knew exactly who was being referenced. The internet exploded. #JudgingGate trended for days. And Abby? She never addressed it on camera, which only fueled the fire. Yes, it happened. Cathy and Abby screamed at each other in an ice cream shop. What started as a post-rehearsal treat turned into a public fiasco. Abby was ordering when Cathy walked in, arms crossed and already filming. Abby said, "Don't you have a cone to crawl into?" Cathy retorted, "You're just mad your girls are melting under pressure." Sundays were spilled. Kids cried. Security was called. The scene became legendary. Even TMZ picked it up. For all her wins, Cathy had epic losses. And when she didn't win, she did not take it gracefully. After one comp where her lyrical routine placed fourth, Cathy stormed backstage yelling about rigged scores and biased judges. One mom whispered, "We're gonna get banned if she keeps this up." Cathy's dancers were mortified. But her reply? "If you want to win, you better get used to fighting dirty." The candy apples were shaken. But drama like this? Pure dance mom's gold. Not to be outdone by Abby's minis, Cathy launched her own mini squad, the Red Pipsqueaks. Their debut dance? Toddlers with attitude. It was unhinged, glittery microphones, sassy poses, and dialogue snippets like, "Back off, Barbie." The crowd hauled. Abby stared in horror. "They look like baby drag queens," she whispered. But the routine placed second, and Cathy was thrilled. "It's not about age," she said. "It's about presence." After years of being the comedic punching bag, Vivienne shocked everyone with a stunning ballet solo in Season 7. Yes, ballet. Critics held their breath. Could she actually do it? She did. The routine was elegant, emotional, and technically sound. Even Abby looked stunned. I guess she was watching all those years, she said quietly. Cathy beamed. She's not just my daughter. She's my dancer. It was the most heartfelt moment they'd shared, and fans still talk about it. Eventually, Cathy bowed out. No tantrum. No final slap fight with Abby. Just a quiet goodbye. My team has said what it needed to say, she told producers. I'm walking away while I'm still the queen. Abby rolled her eyes, but the silence that followed Cathy's exit was eerie. The ALDC moved on. The candy apples faded. But fans never forgot. And every time a comp started with an empty front row seat, you couldn't help but wonder,